In this video, I'll show you how you can easily create mountains. First, come into Edit menu, Preferences, and search here for ANT Landscape. Check that ANT Landscape add-on. Now press Shift A, Mesh, click on Landscape. This is it. Here at the down, you find an option bar. Click on it. All these are settings of landscape. There are a bunch of presets you can try. But I'm gonna use mountain one. To increase the detail, increase the subdivisions. I'm setting it to 256. You can also set it higher like 512, but it's on your device performance. You can also experiment with the noise types. But I'll choose Rigid M Fractal. By changing the seed value, you can get random seed of mountains. I'm happy with the result of 4. With dimensions, you can change the sharpness of mountain. Let's experiment values. I think this 1.10 looks fine. Linearity, I'm not pretty sure about it, but it behaves on the scale of textures in the landscape. Let's increase some height. Say 0.70. It's okay for now. And it's done. Remember this, if you click outside and move the object, then you will lose these settings. So make sure to click only after you have done, otherwise you have to start again by adding it. But don't worry, you will get the previous settings or customization you have done. Press N and in item panel you find out dimensions, which is of a height of floor. So the mountain size is of a room. So in object properties, I'm gonna scale up the mountain to an average mountain size, and that's of 300 meter radius. Okay, it acting something weird. For this, just press N, come into view panel and increase the end clipping. I'm scaling it a little on Z axis. Press Ctrl A and apply the scale. Now let's add a displace modifier on this. This will add a displacement on the surface of our mountain, but we want a displacement of rock, so we have to add a displacement texture of rock, for which I downloaded this rock brown 05 texture from Polyheaven. I only downloaded the displacement texture in 4K. So hit on new, click on this icon to show texture tab, click on open, browse the downloaded texture and open it. So here you can see the rock displacement texture on mountain, but it creates a repeated pattern. But before solving it, let's increase the scale of this texture. So click here on mapping drop down and raise up the repeat X and Y values. Let's try 6. Yeah, that looks great. Now come to modifiers tab and first increase the strength. I think 3 looks better. Let's solve this pattern. Click on this coordinates drop down and click on UV. But still it doesn't change because first we need to UV unwrap mountain. Press tab to go into edit mode, press U and unwrap. So here's the difference. I'm gonna raise up the strength to something like 4. Now come to shading menu. Again increase end clipping. Hit on new, add a new material, but before adding textures, make sure to enable Node Wrangler. Search here for Node Wrangler. Check it. It will automatically arrange nodes of our textures which we will load. So now for textures of mountain, I have downloaded this Snow 02 texture in 4K. This Rockwall 02 texture for rock in 2K. Time to load in textures. With selecting the principal BSDF node, press Ctrl Shift D. And exactly this is the job of Node Wrangler. Come to render preview mode. Let's have some lighting. Uncheck the scene world. Now duplicate this principal BSDF node with Shift D. Press Ctrl Shift T to browse downloaded rock textures. Select all and principal texture setup. Now with selecting nodes and pressing Ctrl Shift, you can enable them to preview. Come into render properties and change the render engine to cycles. I'm setting the viewport samples to 32 and check the denoise. Back to shading mode. First raise up the scale of mountain texture. Value 4 looks fine. Do the same thing with snow texture. First enable it and then scale up the texture with geometry node. Now to mix those different textures, let's add a mix shader. Press Shift A and search for mix shader. Then connect the output of both BSDF node to shader input of mix shader node. Disconnect this and join this shader output of mix shader to surface in material output. But now doesn't show any mix. That's because for the factor 0 value, our first texture will shown up, and for 1 value, the second texture will shown up. To give a mixed texture, we have to provide a factor value to this. So let's add a separate XYZ node and plug this Z value to factor. We only want texture difference on Z axis because on high slopes or on vertical area there will be less snow. Also add a normal map node. Plug this normal to vector. Now add a color ramp node to set the mix region. Now flip the sliders and experiment with these for a better result. Looks better. But one thing is still missing. Let's use our displacement texture. Drag both of textures. Add a displacement node. And plug the displacement to displacement. To mix both of nodes, add a mix RGB node. And connect nodes to color 1 and color 2 values of mix RGB. Then plug the color output of mix RGB to height input of displacement node. Raise up the scale. What it does, just give the textures a height. I'm cleaning up the node system by making a group of them with Ctrl+J. So here it is, we have done. I know it's not that good, but it's the basic concept you can play around with more nodes and experiment with for desired results. Thank you for watching and peace.